Okay, everybody, welcome once again to the Meat and Potato Show, conservative talk and awesome rock, broadcasting here on the M&P Conservative Media Network. And it is always a pleasure to have guests return to the show. This guest is 3 times returning to the show. He's a theologian, author, great writer, great philosopher, thinker. He put the Saul Alinsky 14-part series together, which is all over YouTube, and we're going to ask him about how that's going. Anyway, welcome once again, Mark David Shaw, to the Meet the Potato Show. Mark, thank you so much once again, sir. Thank you so much for calling in.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on.
So I wanted to stop in mid-sentence a few minutes ago because we were watching your Saul Alinsky expose. Um, it's so apropos that we did that. It's amazing that you put that thing together. What? Almost a year ago? What? How long ago was that?
Yeah, I think I started it roughly a year ago.
Roughly a year ago. Okay, so this leads me into the point I want to make here. A while ago, I had written in my blog, I'd spoken to several other guests on the show about how things are reaching critical mass. We're reaching critical mass not only in our politics, but in the way society is, and how the leftists are taking over, the Saul Alinskys are taking over. This whole transformation, you even said it in your video exposés, everyone knows what we're talking about, the fundamental transformation of America. And I had said that last year in 2014, I mean, we're reaching critical mass. We're getting to that cusp. Now, sir, we are at the point of implosion. Critical mass has already happened. We've reached that singularity. The explosion, the implosion, whatever you want to call it, has already happened. I was just listening to everything that you had said up until about parts one, up until about parts four, and I'm thinking to myself, everything that you were just talking about is exactly happening right now. We see an influx of, let's look at the Confederate flag. Let's look at the way Hillary Clinton is just gaining in the polls because everyone seems to just love her. And let's look at the way that there's cake bakers in Oregon. They have to pay a $135,000 fine because of their religious beliefs. I'm sorry, I thought that this country was supposed to protect religious beliefs. Mark, I think you see where I'm going here. We've reached that point where it's no longer critical mass. Everything has exploded now, week after week. What are you saying, Kenny? We've gone almost supernova here. Everything is back to back. You know, everything's got to come down. Liberals have taken over. Political correctness has taken over. You and I will probably end up on a FEMA train this time next year, possibly. But sir, you see where I'm going. Take it from here, sir.
Well, what I think you're talking about is a political breakdown that really is sustained by a cultural breakdown. As long as the people do not understand the type of government that they live under, then politicians can arrange it and change it to their desire. And I think that's what you see going on. And so my endeavor was to educate people with regard to their government, with regard to the kinds of people that are influential in our society, like Saul Alinsky, and how the politicians use these tactics to literally, help a culture go over the cliff.
Sure.
We're already heading in that direction culturally.
I think we're already over the cliff. That's what I'm talking about. It's implosion. We're already over the cliff. We're in free fall now.
Yeah, well, people don't think critically anymore. Students aren't taught to think critically. They aren't taught to question. And so they have a professor or a teacher that makes a statement, and they're supposed to just accept that statement and not question or let's investigate and see how far this statement can be validated as true. And so by taking that away from children or young people and causing them to just go with the flow rather than to challenge what they hear, then you have a culture rife with the ability to be deceived.
Now you're talking about higher end academia. You're talking about
Oh
college.
yeah, I'm
What?
talking. It goes right down to secondary.
Thank you.
Chris.
And this segues me into the next point. Never mind Common Core. Common Core is the bottom base, quite literally scraping the bottom of the barrel of stupidity.
Yeah.
Sir, the reason why I had said this whole thing about implosion and critical mass was, now we have not only, well, we dumbed down our education. So now we not only have children today growing up learning a dumbed down education, but those children are children of past children, now adults, who also grew up under that dumbed down education, who in turn themselves were children, grandparents or parents, who also started to see that dumbing down of education. You can go on YouTube at any point in time and you can see any video where there's people on the street saying, we just saw it today. There was a video out, it's all over Facebook. It's like, whoa, well, what's the Declaration of Independence about? People stare at you blank. How many stars in the flag? They stare at you blank. Simple questions that even the stupidest person should know, these people can't answer. Yet these people are in the millions. It's the dumbing down, the dumbing down. We've reached that point of where the entire society is rife for the entire political takeover of
for brainwashing.
brainwashing, right? The New World Order, Trilateral Commission, pick your poison, whatever it is. Mark, take it from here.
Well, we see that that is exactly the case. I remember a Harvard professor of religion was stating that it used to be about 50%, maybe a little higher than that, of people coming out of high school did not believe in such a thing as an absolute truth.
Ah.
Now, he says it's 100%. Every kid that comes into his class, that's one of the first things he does. He asks them, do you believe in an absolute truth? And they all say no, which is amazing because that statement in itself is self-refuting, because if there's no such thing as an absolute truth, then there's no such thing as saying there's no such thing as an absolute truth, because that is an absolute.
Right, and there's no such thing as a falsehood either.
Yeah.
Exactly. It all is it's
Kinda
all about
wishy-washy.
it's wishy-washy. It can be all about interpretation, can it?
But
Mark?
that's Common Core.
Well,
And
What
that
do you
will
think-
be
what
Common
do you feel
Core.
is the right answer.
Exactly, Common Core. But you feel will be the right.
well.
Go ahead,
you know,
Mark. Take over, sir.
When my children were little, I decided to start reading their textbooks. They were in elementary school. And I was so shocked at what they were learning in elementary school.
I did that too, sir. You're
I
right.
took the textbooks to the superintendent of schools of that county. And I said, do you agree with this? And he said he agreed with everything but one book. And I said, this is amazing that you're doing this to the children. And so I ran a campaign back in the 80s in Florida, Fort Myers, Florida, to contact all the churches in that county and let them know what the public school systems were teaching their children. And I was just appalled at how many people didn't care.
Right.
And that's why you see what you see, because politicians 70 years ago would not even come close to getting away with what they get away with today. They would have been called on the carpet and run out of town.
There are some parents. Here in Massachusetts, there's a huge anti-Common Core. It's growing all over the country.
Doesn't matter how huge they are, they're
these
still
are,
a minority.
yeah. My son made a great point. They're huge. They're still a minority. There are those few parents that are out there trying to educate their children, trying to get things back, but unfortunately, again, it brings me back to my original statement in the beginning of the interview. We've reached that point of free fall, that point of implosion. Is it too late, sir?
Well, nothing's ever too late, and I always have hope. I'm slightly optimistic in my nature, but I'm also pessimistic with certain regards. The problem is that, this has been a progression that, like you say, has reached critical mass. The progression started with an economy that required two parents working to make it.
Right.
And once you get both parents out of the house working, now you have to have a babysitter. In comes the state.
Right.
We don't. That's my free babysitter, paid for by the American taxpayer. And so they don't want to buck the system, even though they disagree with what's being taught to their children, because that would ruin their economic status. And what we've got to do as patriots is say, let the economic status, let's see if we can reduce our budget. Let's see if we can get back to a single person working and one person at home taking care of the children. And if we could build on that, it was John Locke that said the family is the first order of government.
Sure, yes.
And so the family has to be preserved in order for this republic to be preserved. And the family is exactly what's been under attack for several years and is disintegrating before our very eyes.
So let's segue right into that. Okay, you and I might disagree. Listen, gays, I'm of the mindset, I don't care. It's in your home, I don't care. You're adults, it's in your home. This is the conservative in me. I don't care. It's your business. It's none of my business.
You're welcome to do what you want.
Welcome to, right, do whatever you want, your business. Unfortunately, it's agenda-driven. It's agenda-driven because, again, last year, I spoke to a great Air Force combat pilot, Colonel Reed Reeser. He's coming back on the show later on this month. He and I spoke about how, okay, fine, they're going to have their rights. Eventually, they're going to get the gay marriage. But here's the thing that he said, and it's proven correct.
They're never satisfied.
They're never satisfied. That's right.
No
and
one's
this is
satisfied.
part of Alinskyism, isn't it?
It's not even just gays, though. There's never satisfaction. Because once they achieve one goal, they're going to automatically move on to the next thing that they feel is unequal.
But this is what Mark was talking about Alinskyism. Isn't it true, Mark?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're black. Okay, let me segue a little bit here, and then you take over.
It's all about
Let's
gaining
look.
ground.
Let's look at what's going on with the racism issue. It's never about parity. It's never about equality. It is only the next step to the next step. Go ahead, Mark.
Absolutely. They want the gay agenda.
Oh my
shit.
God. Go get me some ice.
He's going to be wondering, what the fuck